Most freelancers have worked with agencies before. For a lot of them, it's their main source of income. And for many, it's the most lucrative partnership they can have if they don't want to deal with managing their own clients. That means no lead generation, no pitching, no account management, no team management, and the list goes on. For this sort of deal, the agency who gives out the job handles all of that. And in return, they keep a chunk of the money. But what else is actually happening on the agency side? What are the real budgets and margins? Why do they choose a freelancer over a full-time hire? There's a lot of questions that freelancers might have in regards of their partnerships with agencies that they probably never dared to ask. And today we're asking them. Joining us will be Lorenzo Picco, founder of Eat Butter First, a Vienna-based social media studio working with restaurants, hotels, and lifestyle brands. Before we get into it, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Eat Butter First?
Of course, very excited to be on your show. As you've introduced me already, my name is Lorenzo Picco. I am Vienna born and raised. And 5 years ago, I founded the agency Eat Butter First, where we help hospitality and lifestyle brands to stand out through social media content. And we're now moving into some new areas too. And my path started actually with freelancing too and agency work. So I've been like all over the industry, and it led me to the agency now. And we work with freelancers constantly since the beginning, basically. And I'm very happy to share my insights today.
So you mentioned that you started off alone as a freelancer yourself. How did that go? How did you grow into the how many person team?
Now we're between 10 and 12 people. It always depends on how many projects we're working on monthly. But I started solo. Yeah, actually, coming from the freelance side. Before that, I was in the advertising industry, jumping around. I did, honestly, I think every possible venture you can imagine. I was in a big agency. I did a small agency. I was in a film agency. I was in the publishing house. Actually, the biggest publishing house in Austria. It had like 12 different magazines in different industries. It was also very interesting. Jumping from project manager to senior strategist to creative director to social media head. So I did a lot of different things until I noticed that, okay, I always feel like something's missing. And this is when I started to explore new options on the side, basically. So I had my main job and I was freelancing on the side, which also kind of describes my work morale, which is high. But if it
Sounds
excites
like
me,
it.
if it excites me, I just can't stop. And so I started freelancing more as a hobby, to be honest, because sometimes, when you do the agency work, it gets repetitive and maybe you feel stuck. And on the freelance side or side hustle, you can kind of pursue your passion. And this is when I started to head more into freelance and also reduce my hours in the agency work to the point where it was like part-time agency and full-time freelance, basically. That was the starting point for everything.
Wow. And when you started working as a freelancer, how long did it take you to start scaling up a team?
This is a good question. I cannot even answer it precisely. I can give you a bit of a scope. Like I started alone in February 2021. We can go into more detail later of how this all happened. Then I hired people first, so really have some support close by with me all the time. And then when I saw, okay, we keep on getting more projects and also more specialized projects that require just some niche understanding or a different vibe than maybe that I can provide or the existing team can provide, is when I started to reach out to freelancers, even though I didn't know that they were freelancers. So you have to understand the whole thing is like I did not do the business school, right? And I did things maybe unconventional, but my first freelance hire, for example, I just liked the way she posted on Instagram. So I understood, okay, she understands kind of what she's doing. and it was not related to any hospitality kind of posting, but overall she just grew her following, and it looked like she understands what she's doing. And I just wrote her, "Hey, I'm looking for support in a project. Would you be up for it?" And we're still working together, actually, five
Oh,
years
wow.
later,
Okay.
on different projects. But this was the first time I started working with freelancers, and from then on, it just grew, yeah, and even more and more, so that now we're between 10 and 12 people, some full employees, some part-time, and some freelance.
You mentioned that you needed someone for like a niche project, something that your team or yourself like couldn't provide services for. Is there like any other reason you would bring on a freelancer onto the team?
I think there's many reasons. For me, my kind of philosophy has always been to do something that you have passion for. That's why I founded it by the first, and that's why I keep doing what I love, kind of, because I think this is when you can do your best work. And since our field is the hospitality industry and social media, that is also kind of, that's like the foundation. But inside this foundation, there's so many different things, right? We can do a vegan restaurant, and we can do a butcher. It's still the same scope of work. And I just found that it's best to find people that can really identify with the brand, right? So if we get a request for some vegan restaurant that's opening up, I love to find someone who is vegan and who can feel this and who can help us with their insights with this project, right? Rather than me looking it up and trying to get myself into the brain of a vegan, which is so much harder than just finding someone who burns from it. That's one point. So kind of hire the target group, kind of.
Yeah.
And the second point is the flexibility. Yeah. Yeah. Also in terms of commitment, I I've seen it firsthand from my side. You have a full-time job, but maybe you want to explore some creative options on the side, right? And you don't want to commit to another full-time job, but you still want to be able to do something that excites you. And that's what kind of makes the difference for me, because I'd rather have someone working with me on one project and they're super excited for this one project than having someone doing 10 projects who is employed here, but they don't feel it, you know?
Mhm.
It's a difference.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned that flexibility is one of the points, but also like flexibility in terms of to bring someone in who's actually maybe versed in the topic, as in that you mentioned hiring the target group.
Yeah.
But is it also like flexibility from your side as an agency? Like thinking of permanent hires, what comes to my mind is the overhead. You have to provide a fixed salary every month. So flexibility is this like also what I'm trying to ask is that um, it's flexible in terms of having the person there who's like versed in the topic, but also for you to be like, okay, I know for this project these are my project costs,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna go over, or I don't have to get like another project then to be able to afford this person. Is this also a reason to get on freelancers instead of permanent hires?
Yes and no. Yes, I would say, because in our field especially, we're not targeting big size companies, right? We specifically want to work with small to medium size, with one restaurant. So I do not have the budgets available like the big brands have to just hire two people and that's it,
Hmm.
right? So I have to be flexible on the budget. That's one thing. Um, but again, on the other side, it's just something that I learned from my experience. I'm probably pretty good, I would say, with doing social media for some profiles. But if you give me 10 profiles, I just cannot maintain the quality. It's impossible. Yeah. And anyone who tells you so, it's not possible. You still get to pick your top 3 accounts and you love them and you just keep doing them. Um, so that's why it's not always super attractive for me to directly go to hire someone in terms of the workload, because I also believe if there's someone who does amazing photos, right, and that's their thing, we can manage the rest. And this freelancer does the photos for this profile, for example, because they besides the monetary thing, also deliver value on a completely different term, just in terms of the quality of the work that they can bring. And it's also, yeah, it's easier to plan on one side. You can say that, sure, where you set the budget. But on the other side, you also know what you have to pay someone to employ and to keep them motivated and to keep them growing. So you also have an upside here, yeah, because a freelancer, you have to sit down for each project, and for an employer, you can kind of calculate how many do they need to do in order to stay profitable. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned that your first freelancer you found through social media, so through her
Mhm.
work. And how else do you determine that someone is a good fit for you? Like anything that goes beyond a good portfolio?
I think it comes down to 5, maybe 6 things. First thing is, as you said, is the team fit. This is something that's super important to me personally, because I'm very proud of every person that's been in touch with Eatbutter first. And this is something that makes us special, is also our work environment, and we're all on the same page. We understand each other, we're here for each other. So one wrong hire or one person can bring this whole thing down, right?
Mm.
Just someone walks in and the vibe is off, and suddenly the work drops, motivation drops, and it just doesn't feel right anymore. So for
Mhm.
me, this is the number one thing. It's the team fit. It's how well does this person get along with the team, with me, and with the clients and the projects? Then I take a look at the portfolio or the show of work, because yeah, there has to be some kind of base. But to be honest, I look at it more to see it, to see if the people are able to come up with a portfolio, if they have projects already. But I don't think that most of them are really useful,
Mhm.
at least as my experience, because they tend to just show client projects. And please don't put any client projects in your portfolio just because it's a client project.
Okay,
Put
that's an
in some
interesting
passion,
perspective.
put in some passion projects too. Yeah, because you might have the most amazing passion work laying around, but you put in the one client work.
That's
So,
that's
and
interesting. It's
you show me the one client work, it's a different you.
Yeah, it's such a contrast. Sorry for interrupting.
No, of
We
course.
can get back to the points in a second. It's just an interesting perspective, because most advice that you hear is to just put in client work so that people know that you've worked with clients before, that you have experience. And now I'm hearing the opposite. But I do get your perspective of when you have like passion projects, you really show what you can do and what you're passionate about. And if you're looking for someone who can do exactly those things, you might find them through their passion project, versus we all know that when we work for clients, we are kind of restricted. Of course, we
Yeah.
work in our own style and we do our thing and we work in our processes. However, there is still a difference when it comes to the results, as like the difference is the client input and the requirements that they have, whereas
Yeah.
there's things that I just do for myself. And yeah, so truly interesting perspective. Would you say that you would enjoy to like see a mix of it all? Like, would you see it as a quotation marks red flag if someone only has passion projects and no client projects at all?
That's a tough one. I think extremes are always hard if you
Hmm.
have either, right? I think a
Hmm.
mix is what you should go for. Is Can also be that you had the most amazing client work already. Yeah. But most of the times it's just not the case, because you always have to make some compromises along the way. So if you put in client work, of course, it shows credibility, and that you've got projects before. But this can also be your CV. It also shows credibility. Okay, where have you worked for? Who have you worked for? Or what was some of the projects you were working on? And what the passion brings in is just, maybe you did a lot of social media for insurances, for example, because this was just the path. You go into your path, suddenly you do social media for 10 different insurers. Nice. But you apply here, and maybe you want to do restaurant social media, which is just on the other scope of the whole thing. Yeah. And you don't include any hospitality work. It's very hard for me to make that gap, to say, you're probably very good in restaurant social media too, because you don't show me anything to prove that. So I would just include one, at least just one. Hey, this is how I would do an Italian restaurant, and please take a look at it. And that's why I would love to work with you, for example.
Just writing it down because actually there will be a segment of it all where we talk about what are like some good things to include if you want to get hired by an agency, or like some
Mhm.
tips some advice that you can give. So I don't want to get into too much detail here. Just to recap, you mentioned that there's several points that make you
Yeah.
decide whether they're a good fit or not. One was team fit, the other one was
Yes.
portfolio. What were the others?
Then I would say accessibility. That's something very personal to us, probably. But since we work with a lot of offline brands, like they have stores, they have restaurants, they have bars that we need to go to, it's required more often to go there and to be here and to create content with the whole team, as if I don't know, you do social media for an online brand where maybe you never have to go somewhere, right? So for me, accessibility, meaning where are you based, how are you available, and how can you provide us with some kind of stability?
Mhm.
Are you going to be here? Are you going to be not in Vienna the whole year? It just makes a difference for the tasks and for the projects, right? Because some require more time here and some require no time here at all. And this
Mhm.
is, it's like it has become kind of a filter for me to see, yes, I would love to work with you on this project, but you cannot even come to the office once. So
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah. And the rate, of course, is a topic. It's always a topic. Yeah. At the end of the day, I get it, and budget matters. But I also urge you to think long term. Like I mean, I cannot speak for everyone here, but as I told you, we like working long term with projects, with freelancers, with the team. Um, all of our brands also that we manage, we would love to do them forever, right? It's not a one-off thing. So getting in the team also means you're inside our circle, and we want to push you and we want to provide you with more projects along the way and more chances. There's also been numerous happenings where just freelancers get to know each other and they do a different project that has nothing to do with it but the first. Yeah, but it's nice. But you have to think long term. It's not just about the budget, but what else you can get and how we can make it fit. There's always room for discussion as long as both sides are reasonable.
Mhm.
I found that you can find a solution. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of money, I think that's kind of like a rather big topic, which doesn't have a lot of transparency, especially when you like come in as a freelancer working with an agency. I always struggle with the thought of how much money they're getting. Sometimes I'm not sure if that's actually relevant because I set my own rates and I know my fixed costs and I know when I make profit. But on the other hand, it it would kind of bum me out knowing that I leave a lot of money on the table. Um,
Yeah.
how do you look at, like, for example, you got like a client budget in, like you got a project in and the project has a budget. How much of the budget do you approximately allocate to freelancers? I mean, just a rough number, like a rough percentage or a ballpark is more than fine. I guess I just want to give freelancers an idea of how much, yeah, like a rough idea of how agencies budget for their work.
I know it's a very tempting question.
Yeah,
And
it's a
I
bit
don't want to
difficult.
be avoidable. I just think we have to start on the agency side to better understand the whole thing. Um, because this was a big learning, turning from one person to a team, is that suddenly also a lot of things cost money that you did not think would ever be needed, right? So you have the salaries, you have the taxes, we have the office rent, we have the infrastructure, we have insurance, I don't know, admin software, whatever. It's so much. Sometimes I even wonder, right? So this is something that you don't have when you're a freelancer, or not as much, or when you're one person shop, because your base is just very low. Yeah. That means a chunk of any budget is already gone. It's like it's gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be spent no matter what you do. That leaves the rest open for freelancers, for marketing costs, for example. For, of course, we also have to make at least a tiny bit of profit to keep running the agency. And the freelance budget is, at least from our part, dependent on the value you can bring. Yeah, which is
Mm.
why I said it's about talking it out. Because if you say you have the following expectation, so I come to you and say, hey, this is the budget we have for this project, and you say, yes, I can do this with this budget, then I'll figure out how we can do the rest with the rest of the budget. Yeah. If you
Mhm.
just say no, that's also fine, but I don't think it's fair, because we should at least talk about it. Yeah. And
Mhm.
on the other side is always to kind of stay in a rate that's competitive, stay into a rate that you can compare to others, and at the end of the day, try to break it down for hours or how much time you spend on the project. And since we do a lot of projects, we also try to set a rate that's fair for both sides. And that means I never want to hurt you for being efficient, you know, which is
Yeah.
something that I saw back in agency work, when you just bill hours and suddenly you become more efficient and you take less hours for the same job
Mhm.
and you get less money. Like, where's the motivation in this? It doesn't make sense for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
we
more
talk
like
about
that
this a
the long
lot.
term. Yeah, I never understood it. Maybe I'm not there yet, and I will understand someday. I'm open for it, but um, for our type of work, I feel like it's more motivating for both sides to know, okay, in the first time, I'm going to eat a lot of the costs because it
Mm.
takes more time. But in the long term, what took you 4 hours takes you two. You can do another
Mm.
project with the extra 2 hours, and you stay in the same budget. Yeah,
What you mentioned about hourly work punishes efficiency.
yeah,
So it's something that Becca and I also often talk about, is that it's kind of sad to see that we value hours worked rather than the output.
yeah,
So that's kind of like in this whole system, kind of like wrong. We always try to like bring in the value conversations, also something that you mentioned, like what value can you bring in? And that's actually interesting point, because I think a lot of freelancers don't feel like they can have a negotiation about the rate. They might be scared if they say like, no, actually this costs more, or actually, no, I feel like this should be the project price,
Mhm.
that they might lose the job. Do you feel like this is a valid concern?
It is. It is, because the budget is not unlimited. That's just the
Hmm.
thing. Sometimes you have to make decisions. Just, okay, I like you and I want to work with you, but the client pays us less than you want. How can I make it work? It's just not possible. And it's also fair for someone to then say, no, I believe that I need more for this. Then it's fine. And maybe this person goes on to find something, or they don't, and they renegotiate and they think, okay, maybe we can still make this work. Yeah. So
Mm.
you also have to kind of kill the illusion of just negotiate and you will get more. You can always try, again, always open to talk and discuss, and also be transparent about it, and tell you exactly what you need to do, or what you don't need to do, right? That's why we have a team that can take
Yeah.
care of a lot of the tasks. Yeah. Um, but you can always ask, of course, but just be open to the response and try to work together with an agency to figure this out. Yeah. I mean, if they would just say no from the beginning, why would they even ask you? And the same goes
Mm.
for you. If you're not interested at all, or you're so strict about a certain number, um, then maybe you are one step ahead already, too far. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are just scared to have the money conversation.
And I get it. I get it's hard. Yeah. I mean, I'm in business for 5 years now, and still it's not easy. I can get it. You should feel comfortable. But what I learned also in working with lots of projects, it's not always about the money. It's also about what else can you get from it. Yeah. Sometimes
Mm.
you do a project, and it's not going to make money, but it puts you on the map, or hey, it's a cool learning. It connects you to someone else. Yeah. So you always
Yeah.
have to ask yourself, is it only the number that I'm concerned with, or are there other benefits for my personal life, for my private life that I can enjoy, that I can kind of like factor into this whole package? Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot of parameters that come into play here. I think
Yeah.
that sometimes it's difficult to be in the space, like in the creative space, because there's a lot of pressure on you working for cheap or for free. And I think that, at least from my perspective, when we were working as freelancers, it always felt like we are having the short end of the stick when we're
Uh-huh.
working with agencies, especially when it comes to budget. That's also due to us not being able to negotiate budgets and wanting to get like the portion that we felt like we deserved. Or like also negotiating beyond the price, what you mentioned, because there's other benefits to getting a project. For example, stability.
Yeah.
If you can provide me with more than just one project, it's not just like a one-off thing that actually might be beneficial, then I might be like, okay, maybe I'm fine with taking 20% less, but I'm getting projects in. Um, but I think in our space, it's so tricky because
It is.
there's a lot of benefits offered to us, but hardly ever being followed up upon. I'm not talking specifically about agencies. I think that's a bit different. But when it comes to like direct client work, I'm sure you also experience this getting paid by exposure type of thing,
Mm.
where they expect you to like work for free or work for a little. And it's
Yeah.
like such a common theme in this industry, and it makes you question your worth. And I think then when you get into the conversation or onto the table with a client or with another agency, you struggle with negotiating your rate because you already feel like, okay, I should be so thankful for this opportunity just to be here. And so yeah, I feel like the money conversation is always one where people struggle. Is there like any tips that you can give to someone, like that if you put yourself in the perspective of the freelancer that you were in also, how
Yeah.
did you negotiate your rates? Or like how did you determine this is my rate and this is what I need to get? And if I cannot get this, what else can I do to get into this relationship with them, but still get like a benefit from it beyond getting paid fairly?
A lot of questions. So I try to
So
split
yeah,
them up
it's
a
yeah.
bit. When I started, my biggest upside was that I still had another job, right? So I knew that my bills are paid, and everything I earn from freelance is kind of an upside, which is why I was not super strict. And it was for me more about gaining the experience, and again thinking long term, how can I get more projects on the side for eventually then starting an agency? How can we agree on a rate that's fine for me, that's also fine for the client? Yeah. And maybe we can throw in some extras. That's a huge part of hospitality. Maybe we can agree on some barter deals too, right? I get 10 pizzas a month. I don't know. Yeah. Also makes me happy, right?
Yeah.
Which is the flexibility that you need to have. But of course, if freelance is your full-time thing, yeah, try to get to the bottom of what is your base need. Like, what do you need as an income to pay your rent, to pay, and still have enough money over to have a comfortable way of living, and try to get there fast. Yeah, you have less wiggle room in this project part, in this budget part, and that maybe also force you to do some projects that you don't love to do, right? It's just the work that pays your bills, and it gives you more space for the work that helps you grow. And that's, I think, important to understand. And the other topic that I want to touch here, because you said it's a difficult relationship between agency and freelancers. I had the same feeling, um, and also working or just exploring the whole industry, right? I think there's a big difference that there are some companies or agencies out there that really treat you like part of their team, and but there's also some clients and projects, agencies out there that treat you like a tool. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's that's a big difference in my opinion, because a tool is used. Yeah, that means no one cares. If the tool breaks, someone else is going to be the new tool, and that's it. Yeah. And if you don't want to do it for this price, then just another tool will be found, and then you will be replaced, basically. Yeah, there's no
Mm.
relationship, there's no value besides the money. And of course, you should aim higher then, because you know you're being used kind of as a tool, and might be replaced next month. So you have to adapt your budget accordingly to kind of implement this risk tax, if you want to call it like this. But on the other side, there's also um, um, the team aspect, meaning some agencies invite you to really become part of the team in terms of, hey, you have access to resources that we have. You might here, for example, you can come here to the office and work if you want to. That's up to you. You can come here and drink the coffee. You can go to lunch with us. You can uh, hop in on shootings to learn something. So I'm really open to having people here, even if they work on different stuff. It's not only related to us. Yeah, I just like being around creative people and building the network. And this makes you feel completely different than, you're just somewhere locked away. You're never allowed to come to the office. You should not even be not mentioned anywhere. No one should even know you exist, right? That's a completely different relationship. And I get that in these types of client to or agency to freelance work, it's also struggled to talk about anything, uh, money, circumstances, projects, because you just don't feel respected, right?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like that's what a lot of people might go into with. Like those are the thoughts. Like, okay, I'm just gonna be like their tool, as you said it, and like just need to get my money's worth out of this. Because I mean, part of the reason why agencies hire freelancers is often because they're at capacity. They just need someone to finish this job and then, okay, bye. The rest is for our
Yeah,
permanent hires. I do understand though, because sometimes you are at capacity and then you quickly need someone, but you don't actually want to like extend your team with freelancers. I mean, there's different type of concepts of what an agency can be. Um, I'm not sure if I speak for everyone here, but for me, it was that I had this idealistic image of an agency, like that they're always like doing well and they always get these projects in. And they, of course, whenever they just like need someone, they will get someone, as you said, like as a tool and
yeah,
then kind of like to spit them out again. And I think that image hurts the industry also because then if there are agencies that actually want to include you and they want to make you part of the team, you're like skeptical. You're like, I don't know if this actually is gonna happen because there's a lot of experience that you get where like, they promised me exposure, I didn't get exposure. They promised me another project, I didn't get another project, and kind of like
yeah.
makes you a little bit skeptical of it all and makes it difficult for you to negotiate properly on the other side.
It's kind of like having a few bad relationships, right? You
Exactly, yeah.
struggle
You
to
can.
trust a new one as soon as it arrives, and it might even be like the best one of your life, and you're going to be happily ever after. But in the
Mhm.
beginning, you're still going to be very skeptical about everything because you had bad experiences in the past. And this is something I can just encourage you to try to get over this, because a few bad relationships shouldn't hold you back in the future, right? And you can make bad experiences, you can learn from it, but not everyone is the same, and you can miss out on a lot of chances if you're being too restrictive or too careful. Yeah. Um, Again, try to communicate and talk. And if this is the reason why it's not working out, if the other part is not willing to talk, then it's a good thing for you. Yeah, because this can only go one way if you're not even able to talk. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like the red flag for you to realize, okay, might
yeah,
not be a good fit for you. Yeah, because I always feel like also with client relationships, there's always room for negotiation and for compromise. What we like to
yeah,
do is whenever we walk into the budget conversation, I like to directly ask for the budget because most people have budgets allocated for certain projects. At least the bigger companies do, and also
Yeah.
smaller ones have like a ballpark that they want to spend. The reason I'm asking is because I hate this tiptoeing around the budgets. Like, oh, how much do you cost, trying to like get you down with your price while you are like trying to guess what they are willing to spend. I really like to have the ballpark conversation out of the way, because then I know, okay, what can we offer for that price, or can we even work together? Do
Yeah.
you feel like that would be a good approach with you if Freelancer came to you and asked for like what the budget is allocated for this project? Or would you feel like a bit, eh?
No, no, no,
How would
no.
you feel about that?
I feel very strongly about this because I usually do it the opposite way. Just that I'm just first thing I say is like I have this range of budget. How can we
Mhm.
fit it in? What can we expect to get from you? Because I don't want to waste time, right? And it's the
Yeah,
perfect
that's
fit, and
exactly
but
it.
she's twice
Yeah.
as expensive as I can make it work here. Then it's just not going to work, and you have to accept this. But you have to understand that the more information you also give me as an agency, even if we're not working on this project, yeah. But I know that your scope of work is this, and your range starts here. But I get this. Then I have you on my list, and the next project where I feel like, hey, this could be a nice fit, I contact you again, and I say like, hey, I found something for you. Maybe we can
Mhm.
make this happen. Yeah. But if I
Yeah.
don't have the information, I'm just fishing in the pond for nothing. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. I feel like, yeah, this conversation is so difficult, and it's so good to like lead with transparency, because then you get
Yeah.
transparency back, at least in my experience. Then you can have like, okay, what you said. Okay, for this budget we can do this, this, and this. Would this like be a good fit for you? And sometimes they're like, yeah, actually this would be enough, and maybe another phase we can do something else. Like we can allocate budget again. It just opens the room for conversation and for
Yes.
possible compromise. And that's like a good room to be in. Um, I'm gonna like shift the focus a little bit away from the money and into how you find freelancers, because I want to end this on something practical. I took
Uh-huh.
kind of like the, when you have like an angel and a devil on your shoulder, I was kind of like taking more of the skeptical freelancer side, just because I feel like that some people might be skeptical or might have like a lot of questions and might be like a bit, I don't know, just everything is just a little bit in the dark for them when it comes to like
Uh-huh.
what happens in an agency and how to even get this job, or am I getting exploited, and all of those questions. However, I don't believe that agency and freelance relationships are evil. Just to get this out of the way, I
Yeah.
actually think that it's very mutually beneficial, and of course, if it's a healthy one, and it's for freelancers such a great opportunity to get like projects in on a regular basis, to build up their experience, and especially not everyone wants to manage clients. Like
Yeah.
I've been on both sides, and whenever I'm working with an agency, I'm actually super happy to, for once, not do the the client managing work. Sometimes I enjoy it. Sometimes I'm happy someone else takes that off my shoulders, and I'm happy to let the percentage of the budget on the table for that, because I'm like, okay, at
Yeah.
least I'm not dealing with that. So there's always upsides and downsides to every relationship, and it really depends on what you are looking for. Um, because also not everyone wants to grow into an agency.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, just a quick of a pivot now. What made you actually want to grow into an agency? Because you mentioned earlier that you started out as a freelancer yourself, but it felt like you kind of knew that you wanted to build something on your own.
Yes, actually, I would lie to you if I said that it was always my dream to
Yeah.
make an agency. When I finished senior high school here, I did the Matura.
Hmm.
I got into a sales job just because I needed a job at a telecommunications company, and so I was doing sales, like B2C sales, just in a
Hmm.
store. And this is also very valuable because it teaches you what you don't want to do. And for me, I did not. I'm more an introverted person, and for me, like my social batteries were just empty after each day. And I was like, I want to choose my own clients, and not the other way around. So not that everyone who walks in I have to talk to, because maybe they're not even interested in what I'm telling them, right? So I knew that I have to find some different approach to the career, and I stumbled upon advertising actually because I was always the creative one, in the friends
Mhm.
group. Like, hey, you need a birthday letter card. Can you please write it? Hey, we need a quote for a poster, whatever. It was always me, and I enjoyed it. It was always fun for me. So that's how I stumbled into the advertising overall, and I did the Academy of Advertising, which you also went to, which is quite a nice coincidence. And then started working with the whole agency part, and that's when the kind of feeling came back to me, reminding me of okay, there's always something missing, and I really had good jobs. I had so many friends that I made along the way, and I had everything, but something was always missing, and that for me was the sign that I'm not there yet. And with actually COVID came the second point, yeah, because I still remember when I was at the agency back then, and everyone was in Kurzarbeit. There was
Mhm.
the term, like short work. It was a special kind of work you had to do during COVID, where you get way less hours, but you keep your salary. Kind of, it was state sponsored, um, and they didn't know what to do with their time, right? And I was just hustling 12-hour days after 12-hour day, because there was so much work going on the restaurant social media side, because they were like dying, right? No one was able to get to the restaurant, so we had to launch delivery campaigns, takeaway campaigns, everything. And back then it was just me doing the social media, and one thing led to another, and it was just, they are posting nice stuff. They get the boxes. Who is doing their social media? It's Lorenzo. Okay, I contact Lorenzo, and it just went from there. And suddenly I had like 5, 6 clients lined up that I wanted to work with for a long time. And for them, they now finally saw the value in social media. They're like, okay, it makes sense. You were right, actually, and let's try it. And I quit the job then, and I founded the agency in February 2021. So it was 11 months after the first lockdown.
Mhm.
Um, Now in hindsight, it was maybe a bit too risky, but yeah, it just felt right. And I think sometimes in life, when it feels right, you have to do it. And that's when I committed to say, okay, you know what? I'm not just doing a one-person shop here. So I did not go in as a Einzelunternehmen. How is it called
Mm.
in English?
So like a solopreneur.
Yeah, I started an LAC from the beginning, so a GmbH for in Austria, um, to kind of also prove and force myself to make this a bigger thing. And then I started taking on the clients, and I got the first office in one of our clients' hotel rooms. Actually,
Mhm.
we took out the bed and put in 2 desks to work inside the hotel room during COVID. And then I hired the first part-time employee. She's still with me today. Very grateful for that. And then the first full-time, and that's when I saw, okay, things are going in the right direction, and we fit kind of like a spot, because the hospitality 5 years ago in Vienna, it was not on the level that it's now. And a lot of people noticed that social media can bring you a lot of business and can put you on the map globally. And we tried our best and really gave so much extra miles you wouldn't even imagine. And that's when the profiles just got noticed, right? And one profile led to the other person seeing it and who is doing it, and it always kind of fell back to us, to it the first. And that's how we just grew from there. Yeah, it just came one project after the another, getting new people in, scaling the content team, moving to another office. And over the last 3 years is when it really took off, and we got a lot of more monthly projects and content creations, and so many projects that I'm really grateful for. Also meeting this amazing people, and growing the team. And I would never have imagined it, because starting solo, I was the one doing the captions and social media and the strategies and everything, and I loved it. And to this day, I love it. I come from the creative part, right? But as soon as I started to have people to lead, and to give my learnings to someone else and to see them getting better in the thing that I used to do than me is the greatest thing for me. This gave me so much back, even more than doing a nice post or doing a nice campaign. This was when I noticed, okay, this is something that I want to do more, and I had to shift, yeah, from being the one that executes to becoming the one that leads and also empowers people, freelancers as well as team members. Yeah, I work really hard to make everyone better. Also, freelancers. We have freelancers came to us and they were not able to do anything. They did something completely different, right? And now they learn skills. They're cutting videos. They're outpacing everyone else because I want them to grow. And that's what just showed me that it was the right decision to really grow. And ever since then, honestly, I would not go back. Sometimes I miss it, of course, just being in your own office, just yourself, and no one's here to bother you. But now going out and seeing just a room full of people that share the same spirit and the same mission, and also the projects, people know the projects and they talk about it, and that just gives me so much energy, as you can probably hear.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a great journey so far.
I love that because I had the opposite happening. Like, maybe I went about it wrong and we were like, didn't have enough experience in it. I feel like we scaled extremely fast,
Mm,
and therefore we had to like acquire a lot of knowledge in managing people, and also the letting go of the execution. It felt difficult for me to let that part go. And I remember struggling with, where is my role? Like, where do I end? Where does the other person start? And yeah, just overall finding the balance of it all. At some point, I wasn't executing at all anymore. Um, but that kind of felt like weird to me in the beginning. I'm not sure how it felt for
mhm.
you. Like the first time you were like, okay, I'm going to hand this off to someone else and I'm not going
I'm
to be
still
working on
executing a
this.
lot. I'm still executing a lot. Don't worry.
Are you okay? No, I remember I completely like, I was like so out of the loop, that it felt like weird. Not out of the loop of the project itself, of course, but out of the loop of the execution, that at some point I had to jump back in and I was like, oh my God, how do I even start this? Like
Yeah.
I'm the programmer, so I'm developing. And I remember I'm like, how do I boot this project up? Like I was like completely on level 0 again. That was weird. Um, but yeah, you mentioned in the very beginning that you had your first freelancer once you saw her portfolio on social media. Is that how you usually find freelancers that you want to collaborate with? Or do you find them also by cold outreach? Or how could they like get on your radar, basically?
It's a mix, I would say. So some of the people I kind of scout for myself, meaning I just see who does great work, especially in the hospitality industry, and I try to ask around, like who's managing this account or who is doing the photos here, who's running their ads, right? To kind of get to the bottom of it. The other is just the network that you grow over time and people knowing people. And if I have someone working for us, for example, and they suggest someone, then it's a higher probability that they have a good team fit, for example, because I know, okay,
Hmm.
maybe hey, their brother already worked with us on a project. Sister is probably going to fit in nice way. But there's also a cold outreach, of course. I get a lot of emails, and at this point, I don't know if there's someone listening, but sometimes in the last 12 months, it was a lot of workload and I was not able to answer to all of your emails. So I'm really sorry for this. It
Love
haunts
to
me.
shout out.
It haunts me and it's not my style because I also appreciate you writing it. For me, it's still people want to work at Eat Butter First is for me still just crazy. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it
I
feels
get that
unreal and
feeling.
it's yeah, it's such a nice feeling and I will get back to you. It just takes forever. I'm very sorry. But yeah, cold outreach is also something of just people sending their portfolios or sending the messages through Instagram or through our email. Um, And of course, sometimes when we're actively searching for someone, we also post jobs online to kind of get the spark going of people contacting us.
Yeah. You also mentioned that you're kind of like looking for people who have already had experience in working in hospitality. So it's like kind of like maybe requirement is too strong, but I would just call it a requirement um, for them to have something in the portfolio that relates to your work. Like, for example, would you also be open to hiring someone who hasn't done anything in hospitality yet, but has a really strong portfolio, or kind of is it kind of like a filter that you already like put there?
I would definitely hire someone who has not had hospitality experience before if they can somehow prove that they really like it and that they're at least beginning to get good at it. Yeah, which comes back to the point: you don't have to be have the most amazing hospitality clients already, but if you really want to work here with hospitality brands and you don't have a project yet, then just think of it, you know, or grab one of our projects and go there and just surprise us in a way. And
Hmm.
then there's no it's no requirement for me because I've learned that people learn it on the job anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in our environment, we're in social media. It changes every month, if not even week, and we have to
Wow.
relearn everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you show me you did great hospitality social media 4 years ago, that's also of no value for me because 4 years ago we didn't even know what reels are, you know.
Yeah,
So
it moves
it
so
changes.
fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
it changes so fast. So out of the social media game. I'm trying to post sometimes, but I have such strong like I have difficulties with it. It's really not my hun- like not cup of tea. I do enjoy consuming it. I
Yeah.
struggle creating. So for social
No, I can
media,
get that. I can get
yeah.
that. We have our Eat Butter First crew sweaters,
Hmm.
and the back they say social media freak, and that's
Yeah,
what I think you have to be, because you have to be some kind of freak in a positive way, because
yeah,
it's always going to slap you in the face, because you wake up and suddenly everything is changed, and you just
yeah.
have to adapt and find new ways to get creative. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, for me in development, things are already changing so fast. And I feel like in social media, it's even faster. And you have to like
yeah,
pivot a lot, similar to development, but I wouldn't say at that level. So I really admire people who are in this field and can pivot as quickly and as strongly, like just new formats. Like when
yeah,
Instagram just like says, okay, we're changing the format now, and you have to kind of like obviously you think also in formats. So if it's like changed, it's also more difficult, I can imagine. So
yeah. And we have the best best of both. If you want to be very positive about it, we have
yeah,
the fastest moving industry probably with the social media
yeah,
consumption. Yeah, in comparison to creating billboards or
yeah,
even
for sure.
websites, maybe. Yeah. And on top of that, we're also working with the fast-paced industry of hospitality, meaning a menu can just change from one day to another, and it does, or
Hmm.
something new is happening every week. So we have to stay on top of our game. And this is also a kind of maybe more requirement from my side to see if the people are willing to adapt and to learn,
Hmm.
because this is not an environment for you if you just want to do the same thing every day and work with a slow project like, I don't know, an insurance company
Hmm.
marketing, right? It's the same topics every day. Here it's different. We don't know what we're going to post in 6 months. It's we cannot plan this far ahead. So on the one side, it's exhausting because you always have to be on your toes. But on the other side, and this is what excites me here, is you learn so much in such little time. Like every time I look back 12 months ago, I would not believe. And now we're doing this, and now we're adding this to our scope, and now we're able to do even more than we ever imagined. Now with AI coming in, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So you
that's
learn so
insane.
much because
That's
you have to. That's the thing,
yeah.
and that's also where a lot of agencies I feel like get stuck because they just stop at some point and say, "It's enough. I cannot do it anymore." Which I would just post 12 photos. That's it.
Yeah.
take it or leave it. And I don't think it's going to end well for them, unfortunately.
Yes, it's so fast paced that you have to be on top of your game. Otherwise, there's
Yeah,
probably not a big future ahead, especially with AI. All the flexibility that you have to navigate it, it's like so new. And it's kind of like I like to compare it to the early days of the internet. Like
yeah,
when you started doing like your own websites, it was also so new. It was like a new playground, so to speak.
yeah,
And I feel like with AI, it's similar, way more fast paced and way more impact,
yeah,
like at a different scale. But for me, it's like similar. And this constant adaptation can be exhausting. It can be exciting. It can be a balance of both of it. But it's definitely what you mentioned. If you don't stay, if you if you don't stay with the times, I guess, of the
yeah.
zeitgeist, you're kind of like gonna disappear. It's like a sad reality in this field.
Yeah,
Like
but it's always been like this. Yeah,
it's always
even
been like this.
before the internet, as you said, there were no ads running online, right? And now most of the ads are running online. And if you
Yeah,
would just have said, no, I don't trust this, I want to keep printing my magazine here and only do that, okay, but you're just not reaching the right people. And here I think it's
exactly.
the same. It's going to enable a lot of people and a lot of great work and make processes easier and in the end be beneficial. But as with any new technology, there's also some people or companies that it has to replace, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I was looking at the time, and we kind of like pivoted here. It's still a good point to end this conversation because otherwise, I want to dabble into AI. It's actually such an interesting topic, but it's a whole new episode.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So especially in your field, I feel like
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
it has changed so much. And okay, I'm not even I'm gonna end it here because otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. We like to end episodes on more like a reflective note, and we usually ask people what advice you would give to your younger self,
Uh,
like the one that started out with an agency or like as a freelancer. What kind of advice you would give yourself about starting out and what you would do different now? However, I want to since most of the topic was about freelancers and hiring freelancers or being on both ends of it all. I want to ask the following question instead. So if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice about hiring a freelancer, what would it be? Like what would you look out for now that you didn't look out for back then, for example?
that's a tough one. If I would go back in time,
You can take your time.
um, I'm proud to say that I think I made some good decisions working with freelancers and also with the team overall. Um, Yesterday, someone told me, and this put a big smile on my face actually, that she thinks my biggest talent is finding amazing people. And so I think I somehow have a feeling for it. But what I would tell my younger self is probably just then exactly the same thing, to trust your feeling, because your feeling shows you the path. And if you feel something's right, you can almost always make it work somehow. Don't focus too much on the things where you think there might be a problem or this might be an issue, and focus more about where can we be in 2 or 3 years when we figure all of this out. And if it's someone who you or me in this case thinks this person can grow and be a better person in 3 years, or in 2 years from now, then I think it's a good decision anyway to start a project or hire this person. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for all the insights that you've had. I'm pretty sure many people will find it valuable.
I hope so. And thank you again for the chance to speak.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoy stories about going from freelancing to opening an agency, check out our conversation with Eric Herström. And if you enjoy our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review.